I'm gonna try to get Tracy's mic going. Go ahead and get us launched. I think we're gonna just do what?
Well, it is our Christmas episode.
It's the Christmas episode.
December 21st, 2014. We are celebrating Christmas this week as it is coming on Wednesday. So we're going to do a little bit about the history of Christmas, how American Santa is taking over the world, and that there's an anti-Santa movement happening in a lot of countries, in a lot of areas of the world. Going to do a little bit about how the date for Christmas was chosen, which has nothing to do with Jesus' birthday, and has more to do with pagan rituals and celebrations. Beyond Christmas, we're talking about Seth Rogen's new movie and North Korea, which is riveting. Police, UFOs, shark attacks, animal attacks, and then more Christmas at the end of the show, too. We have a contest tonight. We haven't decided on a prize yet.
What is I don't even understand the concept of the contest.
The concept of the contest is that we want you to call in and tell us what Christmas means to you.
We're going to have people call up and tell us what Christmas means to them, and we're going to decide whether or not that's right.
Oh, yeah, whoever is the best. I think the way I phrased it before was whoever has the most interesting thing to talk about is going to win some kind of Christmas prize, although we haven't really locked down what that's going to be yet.
We'll announce the prize later, but just be ready to call in the last hour after 12 and, enter your thoughts on Christmas in our vague contest. Let's do some... I thought we could just fucking do some corny shit and talk about the history of Christmas, but we'll do it our way. Yeah, it's not going to be too bad, I don't think.
It might be a little corny, but there's some weird stuff.
I think there's a lot of interesting shit. And if you put it in the right perspective, when I was researching this, I didn't realize how new the Christmas tradition that we're familiar with really is.
Yeah.
What is it, late 1800s?
Yeah, 1820s-ish.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's early 1800s.
Well, that's when it got started, but things really kind of became more regular in the later 1800s.
Okay, so it really was formulated it was formed around the Clement Seymour famous poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," and that kind of laid out Christmas. That firmed up the tradition, right?
Right. There was one poem that preceded that kind of got the ball rolling, but the "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," which I'm sure everybody knows at this point, was really what kind of drove the point home.
Okay, and before that, we're talking a tradition that goes back how long? 1,000 years or more?
Yeah,
it was
at least.
a few thousand years back to way before Christ, right? So
right, yeah, definitely.
We're talking back to 1000 BC even, I think I read. Back to Saturnalia? Was that the first thing?
Saturnalia.
There was a little thing called Saturnalia. What was this? Mesopotamia? Is that right?
It was. Hold on, I'm pulling up my information right now.
There was also a Mesopotamian celebration. I can't remember if that was Saturnalia or a different one, or what the deal with that one was. But
I'm checking on it.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to be able to do this. I'm not really sure what it was called, but there was all kinds of shit about human sacrifice, feasting on and fucking sacrificing lambs and all this kind of classic pagan stuff. And Halloween seemed like more of a match to what was going on with Christmas for the first couple thousand years than Christmas is today. It seemed like a lot more of a Halloweenish type of thing involving a lot of bloodlust and pranking and it was costumery and all kinds of shit like this, right?
It was still celebratory in the feasting and spending time with family and friends and things like that, but there was less gift giving and more an exchange of services.
What's the fucking Mesopotamian one called? How can neither of you... I have two people here that have been researching Christmas for days.
All of it starts blending together.
What did you guys think we were going to talk about here? Cool.
Well, Saturnalia.
Right, should we just move on to something else or what?
No, we've got all sorts of stuff. Just because we don't have the name of the Mesopotamian one.
So what's going on here? Tell me some shit.
Well, we were talking about Saturnalia, which weirdly involves a lot of role reversal. So, people who had servants would spend a day serving their servants and playing a character, basically.
Yeah, and that's why I'm trying to find out even these earlier ones because...
So, okay, there was one in Mesopotamia called the...
Hold on. I don't know, dude. Can you talk in your mic?
Yeah, is that okay?
No. Come over here and share this mic or something. Just hurry up.
All right, so Tracy.
Okay, so there was the festival of the 12 days of New Year's in Mesopotamia. It was the most important festival, and when the king arrived, he was slapped across the face by the high priest to show he was less important than the god, and his symbols of office were removed. After spending some time in the main temple, the king's face was again slapped. Tears coming to his eyes was viewed as a good sign, and his regalia was returned to him. He could thus rule for the next year, having been reappointed by the god. So that was the original.
There you go.
Okay, how's that?
Fine.
Good.
That was the Mesopotamia.
Yeah, so that was the predecessor to the Saturnalia.
Okay. All right. So now we're getting somewhere. So the original thing. So it's always about role reversal, right?
Or like demeaning the leader.
And demeaning the leader, but they do it in good nature.
Yeah,
Or-
the leader's like, yeah, let's do this.
So right. So what is it about the changing of the seasons, the new year? They're doing a whole like celebration of.
Well, it's like a rebirth thing. I
Yeah,
think.
exactly. And like flipping things on their head. Okay, so it's a natural tendency that time of year, whatever. So then we go to Saturnalia. Did you already say I was fixing the fucking mic for a minute? Did you already say that it was like a time of chaos and shit? And it was a lot of running around, rampaging and shit.
No, we haven't talked about that yet.
Let's get into that.
But it was like a rampant.
that was
like,
Saturnalia, right?
Yeah,
And guys, and they would go out in costumes. It was like Halloween, do pranks, fucking burn shit down,
Right.
Whatever. You
And
know?
the reason for that was because in the winter, they'd already done all their winter prep. So they didn't have a lot to do until the spring when they could start planting their crops and stuff.
so they did it like out of boredom. You mean?
Yeah, so they just had these like crazy parties that
They
went
got
on
like
for days.
like winter crazies, and they had to like do something to break it up, kind of.
Yes. So
I guess that makes sense. I get that way. I guess that's also where like the feasting would come from too. You know, you get hibernating. You want to eat all day and all night.
All right, so then when does the church fucking get involved in this shit? Because we're talking way before Jesus. They're tracking this same celebration, right? And the way I read it is this stuff continued all the way up through history until the Catholic Church started co-opting everything, right? Hey,
Yes.
you got to talk today.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find the year that.
So this stuff continued all the way until the Catholic Church started co-opting all the solstice celebrations and all this shit. And because they basically couldn't force people to stop celebrating these things, they incorporated them into their teaching, yes?
Yes. Yeah, and they it was, let's see, the Christmas didn't start being a thing until at least the year 171. Which is when the first person identified December 25th as the birth date of Christ, just like real arbitrarily.
171 AD.
Yes.
And that was who?
Theophilus of Antioch.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of him. I don't know what he did, though. Not familiar with his work.
Yeah, me neither. But he did say that Jesus Christ was born on December 25th, but there's no factual evidence. He was just like, here we go. We need a winter celebration. Let's just say it's Jesus' birthday.
Right. And that seems to be how a lot of this shit actually came to pass. Is like it just is arbitrarily invented by a philosopher or artist at some point, and like, here, let's just do it this way this day. Here's when Santa comes, and
Yeah, this
here's
is a
what you
good
do.
time.
Now the tradition for like leaving shit out for Santa and stuff goes way back to like leaving shit out for evil spirits to like appease them, and that
Yeah.
was the original tradition, which was common in the pagan religions. And so that's carried through till now. They've kind of niceified the whole thing. And wasn't Santa Claus in some of the earliest, who grew to be Santa Claus? Because that was
Saint Nick of Greece.
okay. But wasn't there a character related to these early Christmases that was like a more evil dude, some kind of demonic type of guy that would come around and fucking fuck shit up? Or am I just thinking of Futurama?
You
That-
might
You're just thinking of Futurama.
You might be. Well, the image of the person who comes on Christmas kind of evolved from someone who is pranky and like does things.
Little mischievous.
Right.
I mean, it's kinda
like
weird
we
that
had
he-
said before, like before Saturnalia was more about exchanging services and time and conversation and about being around people more than it was about actually giving and receiving gifts.
And Saturnalia, let's just also that's like a 10 times cooler name than Christmas.
Yeah.
Would
Way
you-
cooler.
Would you go to a Saturnalia party? Fuck
Yeah,
yeah.
that's December 17th officially is Saturnalia.
So we're too
We should
late.
do something.
It was 4 days
Next
ago.
year.
Okay,
Yeah, plenty of time to plan.
So, Vinny, I think in German folklore, Saint Nicholas brought gifts to the good children, and Krampus is a horned anthropomorphic figure who punishes children that had misbehaved.
So there
he
was
was
a
like
bad
Santa's
guy.
counterpart.
That's what I'm thinking
Yeah.
about, right? What's his name? Krampus?
yeah,
Krampus.
Krampus.
You fucking villain in a Pixar movie? How was it? So what? Well, then where do we take this? So it goes up. When does the church get involved? Early on, or did they waited till later? Because I know in the U.S., for example, most of the churches in the 17 and 1800s, most of the U.S. was Protestant. So Protestant churches largely ignored Christmas. If I'm correct in what I remember from these documentaries I've been watching, Protestant churches basically ignored Christmas until they realized people were flocking to Catholic churches on holidays because they were acknowledging them, you know?
Right.
And people have this natural want to mark time that way. So really, you know, they kind of just incorporated it all into their story for purposes of popularity at some point when they realized they had to. When did the Catholic Church get involved originally? Do you know?
Catholic Church, 1038 AD was the first time they
And now are we
used
talking
the word Christmas to define their end of December mass.
Okay.
But it had been in celebration since 273 AD in terms of it being a Christian staple. So Catholicism must have always taken that with them.
Well, I don't think there in 273 AD was there even Catholicism yet?
No, that's what I mean though. That was already a part of Christianity in 273 AD.
I didn't even know there was Christianity. It was just a cult at that point, huh?
Right,
yeah,
exactly,
a few thousand
yeah.
people or something.
But
All right.
the December solstice centered holiday existed
Well, and it just-
before
they're just still-
the
they're
many
just-
incarnations of
right, but what? So it
Christianity came
was
around.
it was Christian in the sense that they acknowledged it, but then the modern story hadn't even nearly developed.
right, exactly. So the first time Christmas was used was 1038 AD, and that was at a Catholic mass.
Okay, and then it wasn't even until the fucking 800 years later that the modern traditions of gift giving and all that shit started.
Right, exactly.
And I know a lot of this shit too. A lot of this stuff comes from like in the early days of Europe and the maybe closer, what do you call the western part of the Middle East, whatever that shit is. I know a lot of those traditions were like evergreens were like a source of like keeping people sane in the winter when they were like stuck in their little fucking place. They had evergreens inside as like a connection to nature still, you know, and they would stay and they would keep it all year, and it would be like a comfort in a lot of cultures. So that's been a common thing for thousands and thousands of years that people would bring an evergreen in the house. And you think about it, it really does make sense. I mean,
decorating it actually did derive from a Saturnalia tradition.
Wow, that's an old one then.
which is
Shit.
because Saturnalia was, I mean, based on its name, obviously a celebration of the planet Saturn, which they thought did this or that, which it did, I mean, the god Saturn.
Oh,
you know?
those early people and their planets.
But
They really
would
ancient people really need to get with the times. You know what I mean?
planet's ever done
Shit's
for us.
outdated. Now you're supposed
but
to
they
just
would
worship vague figures somewhere.
No, you can't see
Cut it out with that magnetic alignment and natural order shit. Fucking primitive. What do we got now? Yeah, sorry. What were you saying?
Anyway, they would decorate trees outside with symbols representative of space and planets, since it was a celebration of Saturn.
And that's what the
so
ornaments
they would decorate
are.
it with like stars and stuff like
God,
that.
are we
Yeah.
explaining shit?
Yeah, we are.
Wow. Okay.
You sound surprised.
Well, no. I mean, this is a lot of shit I never even fucking knew. I don't even know if I actually find it interesting. Just do it. It is though, right? I mean,
yeah, it's a bunch of
what
new stuff.
Tracy wants to say something for minutes.
Oh, I was just going to say also that then people put candles on Christmas trees, which Vinny didn't know until we started looking into this.
Yeah, that's fucked up. How could you put candles on it? Like, how many didn't it
didn't
start
have
on
a-
fire
yeah,
every time?
Yeah,
You know,
it did.
like-
They didn't have electric lights, though.
yeah, okay, that's true. But it just seems like that never would have been a thing anyway. You know, how risky? What was the risk reward ratio there? You know, like it looks kind of cool.
Well, I
but it
also
starts on
think-
fire 8 out of 10 times.
I also think that people used to put their Christmas tree up on Christmas Eve, and then it was only there for like one day. So
Oh,
It's
okay.
cutting your risk way down if you're only lighting them once.
And you sit around and drink grog
and look at it.
and eat
Yule logs.
Yeah, eat Yule logs. What's grog? Grog is just a, like old fucking rum
I
drink.
think it's like mulled wine.
Nah, it's like rum shit. Anyways, go ahead. It's like ancient rum stuff that you would
I
drink.
thought it was more close to beer. It's some
No.
kind of fermented alcohol.
It's got to do with
According
rum.
to Wikipedia, it's any variety of alcoholic beverage.
All right, fuck you.
We're all
We're all
right.
right.
What do let's get around. All right. Are we pretty much done with the early days of Christmas there? We covered the basics. You got anything else compelling about it?
No, that's well. I mean, the only thing we didn't talk about is
Santa.
well, we can get to Santa. But the Mithra.
Oh, Mithra. I love Mithra cuz he's like the fucking the exact
Pre-Jesus?
copy of Jesus, right? He's like
Right.
the, well,
Jesus
or
is
Jesus
a
was the
copy of
exact
him.
copy of him, right?
So I
He
have
was-
this list of similarities.
And what 1200 years before or something, right? And
yeah.
he was a major religious cult. Was that Mesopotamia too?
Iran.
Was everything Mesopotamia? You go back far
At
enough.
one point,
I think
yeah.
it was, yeah.
So anyway, a list of similarities between Mithra and
Yeah, Iran was
Jesus.
Mesopotamia.
Yeah. Virgin birth, 12 followers. He was killed and resurrected, performed miracles.
Wait,
born-
hang on. Slow down.
Okay.
What we're doing here, we're pointing out all of the direct.
The things that are the same about the story of Jesus and the story of Mithra.
Now, read them one at a time.
All right. Virgin birth, 12 followers. He was killed and resurrected, performed miracles.
Uh-huh.
Born on December 25th.
Holy fuck.
Stood for like a high morality, was considered mankind's savior, and was known as the light of the world.
And that's all shit that Mithra and Jesus did
Yeah.
in common?
In common, yeah.
Right. I mean, this is one of the things. I don't like to be mean to Christians. And in a way, maybe they're just continuing in practices that are tried and true in a way. But, like, they are pretty fucking, like, uppity about their stupid story that's just a copy of other stories. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, it's, you know, I really don't like to be mean to religious people too much. But, like, come on, guys. Like, just look into the theory a little.
Yeah, if you really
or the
refuse
history,
to
like-
see that there's a similarity there, then you're really not trying very hard.
So it's a common way to enthrall people. Say this happened. Now you need to worship, you know, and whatever for some reason.
Right.
So I like the United States. It's no secret. I'm a fan. I consider myself to be. I consider myself to be a former patriot. I was for a long time. I considered myself a real patriotic kind of person. But, like, at this point, I'm so embarrassed of our history. I just have to admit, like, God, we just have never been all that fucking great. There were some awesome ideas in that whole conversation, whatever. And we're going to get into revolutions later, speaking of all this. We are going to discuss this heavily later. But I love the wild fucking nature of this place. That Europeans and Asians and, you know, not every African was a slave. People immigrated here from Africa, you know, and came as craftsmen and artisans and this and that. People from all over the world came here. They were risk takers. We built up this, like, core fucking initial citizenry of just, like, risk-taking wild motherfuckers, you know? And that's why I love this place. And when I was learning about the early days of Christmas in this country, that reminded me of how nuts this country like has been, right? Wasn't there just years and years in the 17 and 1800s of just Christmas riots and shit and
Yes.
like complete just violence and craziness on Christmas?
Yeah.
And that was like the celebration.
reason, yeah.
Just that was what you did. It was
Yeah.
like
Got super drunk and just destroyed.
what's the
things.
thing Halloween in Detroit where they just fuck shit up? It was like that. We're pretty much, right? Just compulsive just destruction, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, there was a great deal of that.
So I heard a rumor, and we're now not sure. I don't know. Is the thing there's like a rumor online that the New York City Police Department was founded in response to Christmas riots?
Yeah, I don't really think that's true.
No.
It's possible that they were.
Interestingly enough, there was a time where there was no police departments.
Right.
So that's also key
Yeah.
to tonight's show. We're going to talk a lot about the police later, and maybe what people can do without them in their lives. But the before police departments, I kind of wonder what the fuck they did. It must have just been posses. It
Well,
was
and they
just-
had, like-
when there was a real problem, you had to kill somebody.
Yeah.
and everybody would know you had to. That
And they
was
had
it.
like civilian officers that maybe didn't have like a central.
You
but
probably
they were
get like, and the
to
sheriff,
keep the peace.
the sheriff would appoint somebody when they needed to. Here
Yeah.
you go. You got to kill that guy.
And sheriffs are elected.
You have to
So-
kill him.
Yeah, it's time.
Here's a badge. So, what is the deal? How did this happen?
Well,
what
we
are
did
the
have-
riots for fucking 100 years on Christmas?
A lot of it has to do with alcohol, based on my research.
Okay.
Things like getting too nogged up.
Because there's nothing else to do.
Getting all
Yeah.
nogged and grogged.
Well, there is one real famous one from 1826. It was a riot at the West Point Academy. Thank you, the military school.
Prestigious West Point Academy.
And where a bunch of students smuggled in whiskey to make eggnog, and they all got super fucked up for like 3 days in a row and just like destroyed the school, like, big time
That's awesome.
for days.
What
Like
year
people
was
got
that?
shot in 1826.
And they're shooting them, and they're just destroying the school, just going insane.
just destroying, just breaking all,
all
the windows,
all the
breaking
military
everything,
students just
everybody.
fucking the whole place
just
up.
completely wasted, destroying the school.
It says between 50 and 90 students engaged in an open revolt against the school.
So, was this at a time where a lot of them were probably sent there at a really young age, and they may have not even wanted to be there? In
Yeah.
the 1800s, kids were going to West Point at fucking 13, right? Like,
Yeah, I don't know that we had any specific ages on anybody, but
they were probably young ass kids doing this too. Because I
Yeah.
know I if you read about like the Civil War generals and stuff, Custer and people like this, a lot of them were at those military schools, fucking 11, 12, 13, you know.
one of them, fuck, and I closed that window too. One of them had a future Confederate president,
Jefferson Davis.
Jefferson Davis was
How do you
involved.
not know Jefferson Davis?
I couldn't I just knew it was Davis.
All right.
But he was
You should
in
have just gone with President Davis.
President
That's what you do in that
Davis.
position. Yeah.
he was charged in the West Point riot. He was part of that.
Oh, really?
He
Yeah.
was, yes.
Funny.
Yeah.
And West Point went to the north during the war, right?
That's New York.
No, it's Virginia.
Is it Virginia?
Yeah.
I thought it was New
I
York.
think it was part.
It's in New York.
West Point Academy.
West Point, New York.
Is in New York? Why did I think? I thought it was in Virginia my entire life. I said
Well, now we know.
I knew that it was. There's
I know.
another one. There's another one. Look it up. Somebody find it.
West Point, Virginia.
Yeah, it has to be. So, well, okay. So
There is a West Point, Virginia. You're
yeah,
right.
told you. Okay. And
There's a high school
that's-
there. Is
that's
that what you
also-
were
Are
thinking?
you thinking of West Point High?
I think what is that all that's there? That is probably what I'm thinking of. I think that's where Custer went. He went to West Point High School. Let's
So there was one other notable riot in the 1800s too, which was 1806, and it was the first police officer death as a member of the New York Police Department, and that was 1806, and he was stabbed during a riot on Christmas
all right.
by the Bowery Boys.
And he's stabbed by the Bowery Boys on Christmas. Well, that's what you get for trying to tell people not to celebrate Christmas. There was a war.
Yeah.
There was a war on Christmas back then. So how did they get control of it? Was it the churches? They must have. The churches fucking wrangled it up as their holiday and eventually calmed
Yeah.
everybody down.
I think it was a
Jesus did all.
combination of that and the evolution of police forces as a unity instead of these.
It was just
individual
less easy
groups.
to have a riot in
Yeah,
general. Just,
exactly.
yeah.
There was a central group that was in charge of things.
Man, that would have been fun back then. Just riot
Yeah,
up.
being a criminal
Were there-
used to be so easy.
Were there a lot of people just fucking like? Was there a lot of like actual violence? People getting killed in these Christmas riots?
No, it was mostly just destruction.
Destruction of property.
Yeah.
Fires and shit.
Yeah.
So what years are we talking about here? Do you know?
Well, the West Point riot was 1826. That was the most recent one that I could find. So that must have been one of
But
the...
they started when? Early 1700s or something? Like it was the colonies were doing it, I think.
No, the first one I found was like mid 1700s, but it wasn't really anything big. I mean,
Okay.
they may have happened before then, and nobody just bothered to keep track of it.
All right, whatever. So then what? Now what? Now what's Christmas?
Well, now we have Santa.
And what are you going to tell me about Santa?
He's the head elf.
Turns out he's an elf.
Yeah, who knew Santa was an elf?
I
They
did.
never
I
tell
had
you
to
that.
tell both of you that.
Yeah, we didn't know
Lolo
that.
knew that as well.
And he knew? Okay. How did they... what was the thing that we saw about those elf people in Britain? Was that true?
I don't know. We watched a
We watched this
a
documentary.
very convincing documentary that said
Yeah.
there used to just be like little elf people all over the
It was
place.
it was all... They described it as a small tribe.
But they were like
And-
just living amongst
But
humans.
this is the kind of shit that used to... Well, they were humans. They were just...
No, I don't think they're humans.
Yeah, they were humans. There's just small people.
Well, but
They're
they are
like,
magic. They have magic.
No, well then that
Yes,
wasn't.
they do.
Then that wasn't true. No, what happened was, and this did used to happen throughout human history. A tribe would be like dominated or enslaved, and eventually driven out of a certain area, and they would become very sparse and obviously hide themselves, and eventually, a couple generations down the line, through folklore, develop so-called, mystical or supernatural abilities. It's not that they really have them. they're just...
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's back when people saw it. Well, like there was some like different looking tribe of people, and they what all the myths people have thought about each other over the years. Different races and stuff. Just invent that shit, man. Are you finding anything out about this or?
Well, I just found an article about how an Icelandic judge halted a road project for fear of impacting local elves.
Well, so according to what we watched, it said there was this group of, and they called them little people, and that they were like shunned from the regular town, so they had to go live like in the mountains and in the forests, and then apparently also the North Pole, because then it just jumped to, and that's why Santa has elves.
Oh, they were driven north.
Yeah, into
That's
like
the myth.
hiding in secret areas. So if this Iceland road is at the top of a mountain, it could perhaps disturb elves.
Well, it's funny in that part of the world how many people actually believe in shit like that. There probably is some root to those fucking myths. Like what?
They call them hidden folk in Iceland, and they're known as thousands of elves, and they make their homes in Iceland's wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
And the area where they're trying to build this road is a known location for an elf church, and that's what they were the most concerned about. Is
Obviously.
the elf church in the woods that they might be disturbing.
I wonder what
I
elf.
don't-
What does
like
elf
how-
architecture look like?
Yeah, and
It would-
what is
I-
the elf religion?
I picture it like castles,
But tiny.
but tiny castles with pointy tops and flags and stuff. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that's how they do it.
There are no pictures here of elven architecture, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, fuck. You'd think somebody would have a picture of one by now.
Yeah.
But you know what it probably is like I'm saying, back when people used to just, like, maybe it was some other offshoot of the human, whatever you fucking call it. What do you call that? Because, like, at one time, Homo sapiens, like, pursued and destroyed all the Neanderthals. Didn't that happen? And like things of that nature probably happened all throughout evolution, right? So it probably comes from some fucking time where they drove some small people out and, they hid out in the woods and they would see them once in a while. 4 or 5 generations go by. It's like, hey, what the fuck are those fucking magic people running around?
Yeah.
That's how that shit probably happened. And then it gets passed on down for some reason, thousands of years. But that's what I'm guessing. What do you think?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I mean, I don't know why anybody would ever see an elf and not believe in it, but there are plenty of people who would never see it and still believe in it.
What are you looking up over there?
I'm just looking at Santa history and other things about elves.
All right, well, help me out here. What are we talking about? We gotta fill 2 more minutes on this.
All right, we can fill 2 more minutes. So the image of Santa that we well know is actually really new and was created by Coca-Cola. And
Was it really? No, it wasn't.
It was created by an artist commissioned for Coca-Cola.
Really?
Yeah.
Shut
Our
the fuck
modern
up.
image of Santa.
Well,
I would have known that.
He was
We
like
talked
a
about it on the show
scarier
before.
version before.
Fuck you.
We talked about it on the show before.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we did. It was during Lolo's interview. He taught us about that.
We absolutely did not.
Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you!
Sorry. Did
So-
we? I don't remember.
Yeah.
I drink a lot.
That's okay, but we did. So Coca-Cola is basically responsible for the image of Santa that we know and love. But he used to be kind of normal sized, usually dressed more like a woodsman than like a fancy pants in his red suit.
Okay.
But the image of the American Santa has spread
It
so
was
far.
basically, I read that it was based. See, I knew this article. Sorry, I didn't interrupt, but I knew this artist had done it around that time, but I didn't know that it was for Coca-Cola. But it was basically based off like the thick bearded, like fat belly robber baron archetype of the time. He was supposed to be like
Right.
a jolly rich man.
Well,
like,
and the night before
Monopoly guy
Christmas
kind of thing.
also really introduced that idea too, that he was a jolly old elf with a bowl full of jelly.
we
Yeah.
got a picture. We got a picture up on the Ustream right now. If you guys are just listening, you should check out your monitors. We do visuals along with the show. There's one you should check out right now. Naughty Santa. Go on.
So anyway, Santa Claus, the American version of Santa Claus, kind of spread and became the standard for whatever reason. And then when Russia, let's see,
Russia's always up to
the
something.
when the Soviet Union was formed, the communists abolished the celebration of Christmas and gift bringers. So they basically banned Santa.
They would do that.
And then eventually,
What was that? The early 1915, 18 or some shit like that? Is that the Russian Revolution?
I don't have a year here. It was before the
Fucking no
30s,
history.
I can tell you that.
Yeah. Okay.
Because then in the 30s, when Stalin needed support, he brought back Santa, but it's not actually Santa, it's Grandfather Frost, and he brings his gifts on New Year's instead of on Christmas.
That's much better.
So it's not really America's version. And I have
No.
a Russian manager.
It's totally different.
Yeah. Well, I have a Russian manager at my day job, and she was telling me about the traditions in Russia, and
Russians are
and
so
she
annoying.
said Grandfather Frost really isn't like American Santa. He's not like a big jolly guy. He's more like a Jack Frost, like a wintry kind of sprightly kind of guy who brings you gifts.
All right.
So anyway,
Why does every Russian person I've ever met just constantly talk about what things they do in Russia? So
Well, I
uninteresting.
ask.
All right. Well, sorry.
They refuse to talk. She won't talk about politics, though. I've only ever heard her say Putin's name one time, and she was talking about when he got rid of daylight savings time.
He's like a wizard.
Yeah.
God, they are so weird. Though. Yeah, a lot of countries, man, that worship their. Well, fuck, we're sitting in one, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Well, so anyway, then eventually the American version of Santa became so popular in relation to Christmas that it started taking over like local customs and traditions and stuff of areas all around the world. So there's a lot of places like, let's see, South America, Czech Republic, Netherlands, Austria, where they have anti-Santa movements because they want to preserve their native Christmas and want to protect. This says protect them from the North American Santa, like he's like a
Well, shit,
like
man.
Like he's a
aggressive threat.
Krampus.
Like he's a Krampus.
Certain cultures, I really don't blame you for thinking any import of American culture is fucking a detriment to your society at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of what we've done. Like, it kind of exported our most useless, retarded garbage all over the fucking world. What else you got? Is that it?
That's all I got for Santa. That's the most interesting stuff about him.
Yeah. I don't know. I felt like we should talk about Christmas. I don't even really fucking get into Christmas anymore. I think you don't, right? Unless until you have kids. You're like,
Yeah.
Once you're like an adult, it's like, what are we going to do?
I really like finding a good gift for somebody. That's
Really?
yeah, I do.
I'm-
It's satisfying.
My heart is dark and black inside, and I don't care about that. I really don't. I just, it doesn't do anything for me. I don't know. I got you that nice present, right? You liked
yeah,
it.
that was a very nice present.
Does nothing for me.
But you still did it,
I did it because I knew I was supposed to.
right?
Yeah.
Well, but several years have passed since you've done that, so something has changed.
Tracy told me to do it too.
Oh, okay.
But you, I think I've gotten you presents. I've done it.
Well,
from
you
time
gave me
to
a
time.
record bowl last year. That was cool.
Oh, that was all. I didn't have any money last year. I
Yeah.
gave everybody shit that I made last year.
Yeah. Well, I use it.
Yeah.
But anyway,
All right. Well, just I don't know. I just don't
Christmas.
getting gifts. I'm like, okay, it's another thing, fine. And then like giving them like, here, can we talk about something else? Like I just don't. I don't know. Maybe I'm just fucking a miserable person.
I get nervous when I give people gifts that they're not going to like
Don't-
it when they're opening
Don't
it.
you want to just get past it and talk about something else when you give somebody
Well,
a gift?
like I
It's
have
just
like some anxiety.
Just take it
like
and
while I'm
fucking
waiting
shut
for
up.
them to open the gift.
Either
Yeah.
they're gonna hate it or they're gonna love it so much they cry, and that's even worse.
Right. And if they hate it, then they'll be like,
Who cries?
Oh.
Didn't you have like?
So no,
I
I
guess
didn't.
nobody.
I didn't know. That wasn't me. I don't know anyone who's ever cried when I've given them a gift.
No, that's because you're not good at giving gifts.
Maybe if I pick something out better. So